So we've been talking a lot about getting content inside of Exchange Online, even preserving that content, putting holds on it if we need to. But what about if we get too much content? What about cleaning that content up? Well, we have what are called archive policies, of course, and this controls what information is retained and how long it's to be retained over the long term and when it will be removed. These archives are controlled by retention policies. These retention policies contain retention tags. So what we're going to do in this module is we're going to take a look at how we work with these archive policies for specific mailboxes because they are at a per user basis. We're going to look at retention tags that are available to us out of the box and some of the properties associated with those retention tags. And we're also going to take a look at these retention policies that contain the retention tags. So to begin with, we need to understand what these personal archive for mailboxes are all about. Well, they're in-place archives that actually provide some extra email storage. They're disabled by default per user. So at a per user level, we need to go in and enable them. And by doing so, it alleviates the need for the PST files on local computers. Remember those ginormous PST files? We don't need those if we have personal archives set up for our mailboxes for our users in Exchange Online. Once enabled, 2 years or older content is automatically transferred to the archive, and that's because it's using the default retention policy. Users can manage the movement of the content either manually or they can create an inbox rule to move messages to their archive mailbox. And because there are retention policies associated with the archives for the mailboxes, it's a simple process for managing retention based on the policies, more importantly, based on the tags associated with those policies. Retention tags, those are the components that determine how long content is hanging out for and where it's stored. So when it comes to the tags, the MRM, the Messaging Records Management, is responsible for managing the content. And content that have legal risks involved can be kept longer than other content where we can just minimize the long-term storage of that non-legal content. So we can decide based on these tags how long we want to keep this content. The retention tags contain two elements, the retention action and the retention period. The period is the number of days that must pass before triggering the tag, and after the tag is triggered, the action associated with that tag will specify whether the tag deletes the content and allows a temporary recovery of that message, or it permanently deletes it, or it archives that message. So we have the different options associated with the retention actions. These tags are all associated with the retention policy because that contains a collection of retention tags. We have a default retention policy that's called the default MRM policy that is automatically applied to new users. We can modify the tags contained within the policy, but we can't modify the policy itself. Also, we can't change the behavior of the default MRM policy being applied to every new user. We can, however, modify the tags that are included in that default retention policy. And the default retention policy contains these MRM policy tags. The default 2 years, or the default policy tag, which is also referred to as DPT, has a retention period of 2 years. At the end of the 2 years, it's moved to the archive. The tag called recoverable items 14 days, which is a type of recoverable items folder, has a 14-day retention period. These are also moved to the archive. We have two personal tags, one's for 1 year, the other's for 5 years, with a 1 year and 5 year retention period respectively, and these are also moved to archive. The personal never moved to archive is content that will never be moved to archive, as you can see with the action column there. We have a time frame delete. We actually have 5 of these tags. One's referred to as the 1 week delete, there's a 1 month delete, there's a 6 month delete, there's a 1 year delete, and there's a 5 year delete. These are personal policy tags. The time frame is associated with the name of the tag, and that is going to perform an automatic delete. We also have a tag called junk email. This type of tag is referred to as junk email. This has a 30-day retention period. This also is deleted at the end of the 30 days. So some of the tags move content to the archive and some just delete the content. When working with these archives and tags and policies, we have some PowerShell commandlets. We have the verb-mailbox, which has a get, set, new, enable, and disable. We have a verb-mailbox permission, which has add or remove commandlets. We have the mail contact, which is new and set. We have the retention policy, which is new, set, and get. And then we have the retention policy tag, which is also new, set, and get. So be familiar with these PowerShell commandlets when working with these archives and these policies and tags.